Welcome to another episode of That's Some Crazy Shit with Kelly and James. I am Kelly and my co-host is Mr. James. What's up, dude?
Well, you know how it is here in the corner studio of That's Some Crazy Shit Broadcasting. Another beautiful day.
Yeah, you know what you look like?
An old man.
You look like money, son. Money.
Oh, thank you. Money. Cash money.
Yeah,
like
you look
that.
like money.
Right on.
That's going to be my new thing.
It's
How
my
do
new
I look?
haircut.
Yeah, the haircut. Yep, you look like money. So, you know, we had determined yesterday that we are in season 7. How
Very
cool is that? Remember how we've been determined that most podcasts don't make it the first year?
Oh, I know, huh? They stopped doing
Right.
content the first year.
Yep, that is statistically true, and we are still out here trudging it, right?
Hey, and we're going strong. We got some good guests coming on, people.
We actually do. As a matter of fact, today's guest is a repeat.
I know. I like when we have
I mean,
good guests come back.
right? Yeah. So, yes. So, Jenna had been on before. She is back. She is a tarot card reader. She is a intuition coach, and she is going to talk to us today about the intuition.
Right
Right?
on.
'Cause that's what she does. She helps people and coaches people on their intuition. So she is going to come on and give us some tips. And I always, you know, I'm all about the intuition and being able to know it when it's my intuition and when it's my ego doing the talking.
See, for a long time, ego was always in my ear. Shut up, ego.
So now is it the intuition?
Yeah. My intuition.
Well, we should get right to it, James. Let's go ahead. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Welcome to the podcast. Our repeat guest, tarot card reader and intuition coach, Jenna Lynn Roberts.
Thank you, Jenna, for being with us again on That's Some Crazy Shit. We appreciate you coming back.
Thank you for having me.
The first time you came, we talked about the tarot, and I learned a lot, and it was very interesting. And in fact, that's one of our actually, it is our most popular episode. So
I'm so thrilled.
very cool. Today, you wanted to talk about something different. What did you want to talk to our audience about today?
I want to talk about intuition because for me, I also do intuition coaching. But for me, I feel like that's the gift we all have that you don't have to learn 78 cards to begin practicing, you know? And I think it's something that we treat as this anomalous, strange thing that some people have a gift for. And we love to say, oh, women have intuition, men have a gut feeling. It's all the same thing. And I just think that we all make better decisions when we make decisions from our central sense of knowing. And so I think, you know, That's Some Crazy Beep is a perfect place to talk about the anomalous knowing that we've all had. I mean, everyone listening to this show has had a moment in their life when they have been driving down the road and thought, I got to call that friend. I don't know why. And they needed it. My best friend when I was a kid would have psychic dreams. And, you know, through developing my skills as a psychic tarot reader, I've really seen how much I can develop my own natural self-trust. And it's just been so empowering and such a gift in my life. I just want to share it with everybody. And I want everyone to begin doing these little games. And it's actually a fun thing to learn as well, but it's just such a beautiful benefit in our life to learn how to really trust our certainty within.
You know, it's funny you say that because I know how many years I've struggled with that self-trust. You just got to trust yourself.
And not overthink it, right? And not over guess it or whatever. So what is the difference between your intuition and your ego? And I've asked this question to others before, so I'm always interested with what others have to say.
Yeah, so for me, For me, it has to do with fear. When I think ego, there's a sort of puffing up that happens, or a contraction that happens. There's a sort of, I'm going to go do that and I'm going to be the best, and then there's usually followed by that a contraction of like, oh no, what am I going to do? I'm scared. And so for me, if I'm having a future funking, and I'm feeling myself contract inward and feel my body tighten up, that's a fear that I'm having. If I'm having a feeling of grandiosity of like, you bet I'm going to be the best. And I mean, granted, Muhammad Ali, I think there is a gift to saying I'm the greatest. I do think that we get skills. I think that it does help the fight. So I'm not against having fear. I'm not against having grandiosity. But if I'm future funking and the ego likes to pendulum us between, I'm going to write the great American novel and I can't even put pen to page because I'm so freaked out by the thought of success or failure in that. Intuition is this really quiet, almost painfully subtle in the sense of how hard it is to pay attention to it. Little voice or sense in your body of a yes or no. And it doesn't have a strong physical reaction in you. And if it is, it's a very unemotional one, I think. I think it's one that's just like quiet but firm. And sometimes you can miss it because it passes by. So my example I often use is, you're missing, you're leaving for work in the morning and something in you goes, grab your tennis shoes. And you're like, I don't need tennis shoes today. I don't know what that, there's no logic to that. And then, but it's subtle enough, but there's a weird feeling. I feel it in my belly. That's why they say gut feeling, a little impulse of like, no, grab the freaking shoes. And then when I grab those, and then later that day, my friend out of nowhere calls me and says, hey, I'm by this park next to your work. Do you want to come for a jog? And I'm like, yes, that's going to relieve my stress today. It's not like the end of the world decision that you made, but it added to your day. It gave you time with your friend. It gave you exercise, just from that moment of trusting that voice that's like, grab your shoes. And you're like, there's no logic to that. Intuition on a deeper level, when we have, I think a lot of us, when we lose someone, have a moment of knowing they're gone before anyone's told us, or have a dream of them, or see them or witness them. I think that's something that is an intuitive psychic type moment. When one of the first stories I ever heard of this that really popped my little child brain was I was watching something like Sally Jeffsey Raphael, I think. Remember the lady with the red glasses?
Yes.
I think it was her. And there was a woman saying she was in a conference room and she kept having a voice in her say to her, get up and walk out. Get up and walk out. But it wasn't scaring her. It was just giving her this magnetic pull in her body to leave. And she finally followed it. She finally thought, okay, fine. I don't know what this is about, but it's so insistent. And she left the room, and that was the Oklahoma City bombing. And she was the only person in that conference room to survive, from what I understand.
Wow.
So it can be life and death, as many of us know when we're walking down an alley and we have that certain, this doesn't feel right feeling. But it often, the funny thing about it to me is the flavor is kind of the same, whether it's grab your tennis shoes or get out of this room. It's a little stronger, of course, with get out of this room. But to me, listening to both, it's a similar wavelength of this sort of impulse that's not impulsive.
So is it like a vibe? Because I always say like, oh, my Spidey sense is tingling about this, that, or the other, right? So it's like a vibe or a feeling that you get about whatever the situation is. Usually for me, it's usually people, right?
Yeah.
I'll just get a vibe and I'll just be like, or yeah. But, either way, you'll just, I don't know. You just kind of, and I've learned over the years to listen.
Yeah. And I do think that with some cases, we are actually using very subtle messaging through nonverbals with people. I rescued a lot of people in my 20s who had mental illness, where I would be like trying to save them in some way. And then I realized that I wasn't helping by doing that. I was kind of codependent. So I backed up a bit and I started noticing when I met people, if they gave me that sense in me of oh, I can help you. And I started pausing and saying, this isn't my job. Sometimes we're supposed to help people, but I think, there's a codependent place where we do it too much. And so I think that I started paying attention, and I noticed there's something in eyes that is so subtle that gives me a sense of whether they're safe, whether they're trustworthy. And I think that there is something going on that we call intuition that also is intuition, I think partly, but also I don't separate the micro awareness that we have that we can't really name and intuition. They go together for me. So that Spidey sense, I think, is a mixture of all the things of our life experience, of our wisdom of nonverbals, of our and then something weird and strange that's maybe more on the maybe angels are talking to us. I don't know. Maybe spirits are talking to us. I'm not against it. And maybe there's just some sort of claircognizance going on of I just know this and I don't know why.
It's interesting. A lot of our guests, whether they be tarot or psychic or investigator, always kind of have that same message. You got to be open-minded to this stuff, because you never know when and where these messages are coming from and what they're telling you.
Yeah.
You shouldn't dismiss this stuff.
Yeah.
So that was going to be my next question: is where does the intuition come from? Is it out in the ether and then you're pulling it in? Is it a download from source? Where
I don't
does
know.
it
I think
come
all
from?
of it.
Is
I
it
mean,
all of it? You know what I mean?
I wish I had that answer, because I'd make $1 million, but I feel like I think it's all of it. I think it is our ancestors talking to us. Before I do a tarot reading, I welcome in our guardians, guides, angels, and ancestors, and I don't know which ones are which. I'm just trying to listen to what wisdom is sharing. And
right.
I also really feel that there's something that happens to us hormonally. When I have not had children, but you have, Kelly, and have you as well? Have you been a dad too?
No, I have no children of my own. I'm a teacher, so I kind of quasi, but no kids of my own.
So I'm curious to hear if when you became a mom or after years of teaching, either of you noticed an upscale of ability or a sort of sudden shift from being around kids a lot, because I feel like our spidey senses do peak around children.
They do, because when the house is eerily quiet, everybody's home, but then you listen, right? And I can listen and know who's doing what without seeing them. And I don't really think about it, but now that you've said that, I'm like, yeah, I think mom twos get what I call mom ears. You have a heightened sense of what's around you because you're tuned in, right? To trying to listen. And it's something that I think all parents get, but I don't know if you realize that you have it. I think everybody has it. You probably have it too, James, because you're around kids
that's
all
what
the
I was
time.
going to say. I have it, probably not in the same sense as being a parent, but yeah, when a kid's off, you get that feeling from them, or when they're too quiet, they're in a corner. And I work with special needs kids, and special needs kids are almost never quiet. So when they're in the corner quiet, you're like, hey, I better pay attention. Something's going on over there. So yeah, you do pick it up, and I think if you work with children, you learn to pick that up. You become attuned to it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's a natural protectionism that we have for others of especially children, but special needs kids especially, I think, would be an additional layer of that. And I personally feel that everyone has this ability, and it's when you're talking about your senses. So the clair senses, there's 8 clair senses that we have particularly named. There's claircognizance, which is just knowing things. I feel like that's just weirdly knowing something, and that could be a visual thing, but visual, when you literally see something, is clairvoyance. Clairsentience is when you feel something in your body, like you sense a feeling in your body, while clairempathy is an emotional feeling. Claire tangency is when you can touch. So when I'm putting my hands across the cards to pull a card, I'll get a very clear, like magnetic, tingly feeling, and I'll drop my fingers. And sometimes it takes me a moment to find the card, but my fingers kind of have a little electric reverberation in them. Claire salience is clear smelling. And that one is not a common one, but once I gave a little class on an online program, and one of the women in the class says, you know, I really would love, my ex died in the fires out here in Oregon a couple summer, you know, and I really miss him, and I keep asking to send me a message. And then after we did our meditation together, she said, he's been sending me a message. He used to microwave a hot dog in the microwave and it stunk the house up. And I've been smelling that lately out of nowhere. And I realize now that was him, because it was anomalous. It came out of nowhere and it was very strong all of a sudden. So now I know to look for microwaved hot dog scent. It's not always pleasant. And then Claire gustance is clear taste. Being able to, you know, I've never had that. And of course, clairaudience is being able to literally hear things, which is the most dangerous in the sense that, you know, people can have psychotic breaks and hear voices. And so that's one where we want to be a little bit gentle. And I also tell people with clairsalience, if you smell toast, you should go to the doctor, because you might be having
not a good sign. Huh? Stroke, people, stroke.
Right, yeah. That, you know, I think that when you are talking about the intuition, some people may say, well, how do we tune in? Like, what tips can you give somebody to kind of maybe tune in or start to pay attention maybe to their intuition?
Yeah, great. So the first one is it is about body awareness on a huge level. So meditation is what most people say is the first access point, because if you can sense your main core, what you feel like right now, then you can notice the subtle changes to it. And meditation, people put a big M and it's kind of like intimidating or something. I think the ego doesn't want us to meditate, and so it makes meditation intimidating. But really all it is, people say, well, I can't make my mind not think. And I'm like, oh, that's not it. I can't make my mind not think. I can sit like the Buddha, but I can't make my brain shut up.
Right.
Meditation is just sitting and breathing and listening to your mind and listening to the sensations in your body. It's just awareness. And so mindfulness practice, awareness practices get us to a place where we can really tune in to what our normal feeling is, so that when abnormal feelings happen, we can really listen. And so listening is the first step. And then I think the other thing that's fun about this is it can be a game. Like, it can be playful. You're going to a new person's house, your friend's driving you there, you've never been. And you can just say, hey, I'm going to make some guesses. And I'm going to sit and I'm going to let myself quietly feel in my body what it's going to feel like to have what atmosphere will this party have tonight? What will the house look like? And you can go through all the senses. What color will it be? What textures will be there? Or do I sense, what kind of lighting? How will it smell? And let yourself, it's like, what I like to say is it's throwing a softball in the dark. So if you hit a target, you're like celebrating that. But you can't really beat yourself up for throwing a softball in the dark and missing. Because, I mean, that's quite a feat. To even try is fun and shouldn't be taken too seriously. So I think a big part of intuition is just letting it be a curiosity and a mindful experience, and slowing down enough and letting yourself play games. You can say, oh, who's the next person to get off the freeway? Because it may not be the person in the slow lane. It might be someone who's just going to curl across 4 lanes at last, and just little games like that, little games like that to let it be playful and don't take it too seriously. Can't beat yourself up if you get it wrong.
I like that you put a game and playfulness into it, because people won't do it if it's not fun.
Yeah. And, I think it's so exciting when you get it right. One thing I like to do is that game Wordle,
Oh, I love Wordle.
So
oh my God, that is like
stopped-
my favorite game ever.
First I did the logic way, where I'm like, okay, S is the most common letter to start with. And, D is I want to get as many vowels as I can in the first word. So spied. Okay. I have some weird penchant for P. I always want to use P in Wordle. But I started to do this thing where I take a breath before you only get one Wordle a day. So I take a breath and I just allow a random word to come to me. And hopefully it's 5 letters. And if not, I try and find another word that has 5 letters with similar letters. But I kind of sit and let something float. There's the word float, F-L-O-A-T, see what comes up and see if I get better than my norm or not. And again, if I don't, whatever, keep playing Wordle, get into your logic brain. But I think it's more fun than having your standard, these letters are the most effective to use logic. I'm going to use the same word every day. It just takes some of the fun out of it. So I think add some fun into Wordle by trying a little psychic Wordle at the beginning.
That's funny because I never use logic. I use literally whatever word comes into my mind. The first word that comes into my mind is what I use. And I usually always guess. There's maybe 1 or 2 times that I haven't gotten it, but I usually always get it by the 4th time. Just whatever random 5-letter word comes to me. Because I don't know where to start, right? So I just, give me a word.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's intuition. Who knew?
It's interesting. Me being a numbers guy, I would like to have someone do it logically and then someone do it using intuition and see what the success rate would be.
So speaking of that, I have a great book called Extraordinary Knowing. And sadly the author of it died. But let me look up her name real quick. I forgot her name. Elizabeth Lloyd Mayer wrote the book. It was published in 2007. And essentially she's a scientist. She has a PhD and she's a psychological scientist and does a lot of research. So she has an anomalous thing happen. That's a fun story at the beginning of the book. And I will say the book's a little dry. It's a little sciencey. And so at the beginning of the book, she has a dowsing person finds her daughter's instrument. So dowsing is this thing they sometimes do by holding a metal rod, but I think there's other ways to do it. I'm not an expert on it. And this person nails down the exact intersection in her city, thousands of miles from where they are, or at least 1,000, and nails down the exact intersection in her city where this instrument is found. And someone had stolen it. So when she drove home that night with this harp, she said, this changes everything. That this person was able to tell me where this item was is absolutely, completely illogical. And as a scientist, I need to understand what happened. So she starts researching the history of anomalous knowing, psychic research. And there's a lot of good science proving that it does work. But scientists who study it, the rest of the scientific community ostracizes, chides. And she, as a psychologist, is like, why are these scientists looking at good scientific research and saying, I still don't believe it? Right. She says it's because of Gestalt, that you can't have 2 strong concepts that are totally opposing in values at the same time. You can ping pong between them, but you can't lean into both at the same time. And so it's a neat exploration into why is it that science rejects good science over the fact that it makes them uncomfortable. Right. They're making an emotional decision, an emotional reaction to a scientific evidence. That is unscientific of them. So I think this stuff makes people uncomfortable. And it's funny that I don't know why. I mean, I do in a way, but there's a part of me that gets why, because it's kind of scary that people can just know things. and it's funny, as a tarot reader, people will be like, okay, show me your psychic skills. What's my name? And I'm like, that's not how this works. But,
Right.
and I'm not psychic for myself any better than you are for you, but I somehow get information for other people through having a healthy ritual with tarot. I believe I'm opening up gates to welcome in that information. But it's really, when I need information, I go to another reader, because channeling for yourself is really hard.
Yeah, that is true. Jenna, I think when people really start to listen to their intuition, I think ultimately, at least for me, you really start to make better decisions, right? At least decisions that feel better, right? So, and I've had instances where it's been like, don't go in there, or, turn here, or whatever, and not really think about it being intuition. People would call it a gut feeling, as you said, or they call it something else, but you're right, it's all the same. And
it's interesting that other CEOs, or I've read books where they talked about CEOs being interviewed about this, and it's said that the CEOs will say they gather information from all their wisdom and all their resources, but then they make the decision from their gut feeling, their intuition. And men in CEO positions are safer to say the word gut feeling, but it's intuition. It's all the same thing. There's sixth sense, or I just know it, or, and there is a sense of your intuition does build. They did a study where they had psychopaths walk around a corner. Sorry. Psychopaths were watching, sorry, I'm messing this up. Cops were watching a guy walk into a bank. And sometimes he had a gun and sometimes he didn't. And the rookie cops weren't able to name as well as the elder cops when the gun was there, when it wasn't. And so, there is a sense of like time and skill is built with intuition that we don't talk about. We say you either have it or you don't. That's not true. I'm sure that James is working with special ed kids on a far more powerful level, on an intuition level, after years of doing it, rather than, first day on the job. And it's not just basic skill sets. There's some sort of knowing that comes with it. So we do build our intuition. And I think CEOs use it. And I think it's one of those things that we don't talk about, but powerful people are using it all the time. And we kind of mock it as this, I think we mock it because it's considered a feminine art. But
yeah, women's intuition. That's what they always say, women's intuition.
And I think that but we use different words when men are using it. And I think that's kind of an issue I have of like, why can't we all just accept that it's all the same bucket?
Right. Absolutely. Jenna, thank you so much for coming on the podcast again. I always appreciate your knowledge and you coming and sharing with us. If somebody wanted to connect with you, either for tarot reading or coaching, how do they reach you?
So you can find me at presentpathtarot.com. That's PATH path. And I offer online Zoom readings, intuition coaching sessions, tarot teachings. I have classes regularly. And I also have an email list you can sign up for on that page just to keep in touch and, get my little emails of fun little topics like this. I also want to offer everyone one little thing of homework because I'm a teacher. I was a teacher for 12 years of English as a second language, so I have that teaching.
Thank you. That's not easy.
Yeah. So I want everyone who's listening to this to call up a friend, or next time you're hanging out with friends, to simply say, tell me about a moment you had that felt like psychic or intuitive, and tell me a story. Because I think another way for us to tap into this art is to get into that goose pimply story time with each other, where we share and talk about how exciting it is to have this anomalous knowing in us and to trust that part, and then talk about what did it feel like? How did you know? What was the sensation in your body? And how can you listen for that better and trust that more? Because I think and everybody wants to talk about this, even if they're kind of weird and wiggly about it at first. So make everyone a little uncomfortable and ask.
And it's probably happened to everybody at least once.
Absolutely.
At least once.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Absolutely.
So Kelly, that's going to be our random bullshit for this episode then.
Okay, we'll talk about it then.
Yay.
And
Jenna,
then Jen, I want to ask you to come on again because I love when you're on. You have so much knowledge to share, and I enjoy talking with you. So.
Oh, it's such a pleasure talking to both of you as well, and I look forward to coming on again sometime.
Fantastic. Jenna, thank you so much. I guess we'll be talking to you again, but I always appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. Thanks so much for all you do and bringing crazy shit into the world.
You know, I like Jenna. She's got a good vibe. You know how I am with the feelings. She's got a good vibe.
I know you're all in your feelings now, huh?
I'm not afraid of it anymore, man.
All in your feelings. Now you know how you feel all the time.
Yeah, I got a good vibe. I got a feeling. Ooh, I feel something.
That's good, though. That's good. Look at you grow.
Hey, the podcast has helped me. It has helped me grow. Seriously, I think so.
That's cool. Oh, so I got something for random bullshit. A question that I've wanted to ask you. Right?
All right.
And just
me, my friend.
Just stay with me on this, okay? And mind you, I mean to offend no one. Disclaimer, mean to offend no one. Simply asking for a friend, okay? All right, here we go. Right. So, you know how they have transgender, right? You can have a transgender child. Your child is a boy, but your child identifies as a girl, right? Transgender, okay? So now, because of that, the boy is, recognized as a girl, identifies as a girl, the family's for it. They want the kid to be comfortable and recognized and accepted and all that good stuff, right? No problem. I have zero problems with all of this. So if that's the case, then can I be something like trans age? If I don't identify with the age that I am biologically, and I identify with either an older or younger age, can I then say, hey, I want to be recognized as this age? And furthermore, if for some crazy reason I said I wanted to trans race, so now I don't identify as an African American anymore. I now identify as another race because this is what I feel. I can't help it. I identify. And my age, I don't. So can I then trans age and trans race myself?
That's a good question. Let me ponder that for a moment, because now I don't know the law behind this transgender issue, but as far as age, why does age matter really? You know what I mean? Because there's you're 16, you can drive, 18, you can vote, 21, you can drink. That's it. After that, what does the age matter? Yeah, so if you, after 21 and you're legal, well, I don't know why you couldn't say I want to be known as a 36-year-old.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question.
If that's what I identify as, identify as a 36-year-old. I look 36. I believe I identify with the year that a 36-year-old would have been born, whatever that year that is, because I really don't know. I'm just saying. I just feel like if somebody can say, hey, I identify as this, then can't anybody say I identify as this and say I want to be recognized as this? Just asking. Simply asking.
No, and that's a good question, because it does make you wonder. I am race Y or whatever, but I was brought up with race X,
and I identify as race X, I want to check the box for race X. I may not look like race X, but I identify as race X.
Right.
And if there was a way that I could change my race, I would.
And then I mean, yeah, you could. I don't see why you could change your age either. I don't understand.
So I don't want to be.
The next big age would be retirement age, whatever that would be, and that's up to you.
I'm just asking. That's my random bullshit because I just, I just wonder how if it's about how you feel, right? How I feel. That's what transgen. I'm a boy, but I feel everything about me. I identify as a girl. And maybe one day I'll be a girl. I don't know, right? But for now I'm a child. I identify as a girl.
Okay, maybe that would be their argument. That you could transgender your sex, male, female, female to male, but you couldn't go back to a 36-year-old. I don't know. Okay,
I can see maybe the age, but the race thing, hey man, you can change from a male to a female to a male, but biologically you're one or the other. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So as far as my trans race, why can't I switch races? Who says I can't? And I'm not saying that I want to. Again, no, I know. Not trying to offend anyone. I'm just posing this question. I'm asking for a friend. A friend knows I have a podcast. I'm like, let me ask. Don't worry about it. I'm just asking.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Something to ponder for random bullshit. And while you are pondering that, you, my friends, can go back to our website, that'ssomecrazyshitpodcast.com, and listen to past episodes. Look at all of our social media, and that's a great way to contact us, either through the contact page or you can email us.
And I don't think we've mentioned that we're on Amazon Music and Audible now, Joe.
Yes, we are. There's some other new platforms too that are coming out, and when I get confirmation on those ones, I will let you know.
So and it's cool because I had someone I work with ask me when we first started why we weren't, because we weren't at the time. She goes, because I just want to ask Alexa, play that some crazy shit.
Well, now you can.
Now she can.
That is very cool. That is cool, huh? That's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Well, next week, James, guess what?
We have another guest.
Another guest. Ooh, you're so good at that. You're good. You're spot on, dude.
Hey, we've been doing this seven seasons, man.
Yeah, this will be like nothing to you now, right? You always know another guest. Yes.
Serious.
Next week, another guest. So until then,
keep your minds open, people.